Hey y'all, I'm Leah.
And I'm Rachel.
We're two wives and a spark. As new parents and as an interracial couple, we're on a mission to connect with others and explore how race and politics influence so much for families like ours.
Yes, we believe intentional conversations are vehicles for change. So we're committed to learning in public and having real talk every step of the way.
And you know what? Maybe, just maybe one conversation at a time, we can make the world a better place.
I think so. So let's jump in, y'all. All right. Oh my gosh, this is such a special episode. We are so thrilled to have you, Nikita and Jessica. Man, for so many reasons, we are so happy to have you on our podcast in this season in particular. This is a very special interview because for our community and our listeners, Nikita is actually our producer and our editor and our extraordinaire, just amazing partner, mentor, support behind the scenes. We wouldn't have been here. We wouldn't have been able to do this podcast without Nikita. So it's been such a beautiful journey to develop a friendship over the years and working together. And a super plus is that now we get to have this conversation with you both. We've heard so much about you, Jessica, and just really looking forward to this conversation. So welcome. And we just appreciate both of you and your presence in the world because it's not every day that we get to talk to couples that share experiences that we do, right? And so we're really committed in this season to highlighting and spotlighting same-sex couples because we believe that visibility matters and representation matters, and that these conversations have the potential to help open people's hearts and minds, right? And so we're really excited to jump in and to start off with just you telling us a little bit about your family and yourselves and how you show up in the world. So yeah, tell us about your beautiful family and yourselves as a couple.
Yeah, so we are just super excited to be here as well. I'll start us off. As far as our family, we've been married almost 8 years. We have 2 kids. We have a almost 2-year-old little girl, Remy, and then our son Adonis just turned 5 yesterday. So we live in the deep South, right south of Atlanta, Georgia. And I work part-time kind of in higher ed. And then I have, of course, my production and coloring business. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to let Jessica share some about herself.
I currently work in the restaurant industry, tons of fun. And I'm also currently in school learning web development. So hopefully that turns into a segue for a new career.
That's awesome. That's amazing. We are all about new careers and new transitions. We love that. I am also in grad school, so I feel you.
Yeah, wearing both hats is a lot. And then on top of that, being moms.
Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you said you're in the deep South. You're in Georgia, right?
Yeah, so we're
south
in Georgia.
Of Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah, about 45 minutes south of Atlanta. So you could go deeper in the South, but we're in Georgia. So, a pretty red state, as we've been reminded multiple times this last 6 months with the elections and then runoffs and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, both are positioned in such a unique way in terms of just like living in a state where, to your point, these big runoffs are happening. It is a very red state that's trying to, grow and be more progressive in different ways. And so as a couple that's been married for 8 years, congrats on that. Shout out on that. That's very beautiful. Notes. We are taking notes. And parents, you became parents, 5 years ago? So there's just a lot of identities that you all are sharing in a space that is not always created to be really safe. And so I'm curious if you can just share with us and with our audience how it's like to be you right now as this beautiful married couple, as parents in the Deep South.
I, of course, don't have the same experience as she does. I love it. I don't feel parenthood is too hard at the moment, but we also have 2 little moldable human beings right now. So as they get older, it's going to get harder, but right now I love it.
For me, I am the more anxious one of the 2 of us, both like jokingly and also like postpartum depression and anxiety is a real thing for me. And so I think about a lot. I take in a lot. I feel a lot. And so looking at how just the world is, like there's a lot of so many good things. And like you all love to say, there's so much light in the world. And also the light is so bright because of the darkness around it as well. And so being in a world where I know that in our home and in our like small circle and somewhat larger circle, like we're safe. but then also just seeing on the news, hearing people's experiences and the work that I do, working with many different populations, like it's not safe in the general sense. Like it's just not safe. And so it's really interesting navigating that for me, of how I know that I come home to my safe space every single day, no question. And I know that I'm safe. And also, I think it's more so I'm not directly in control of my safety. Something can happen. There's always that risk for us being a same-sex couple, us being both folks of color, me African-American, Jessica's African-American and Panamanian, us raising 2 kids that are biracial. It's just, there are so many different factors, and there's a lot of love, but then, like I said, there's also still that fear of, can we just be walking at the grocery store and suddenly someone see us and our kids and either don't think that they're mine, don't think that we should have these kids, or come up and compliment us, or like, oh, they're so adorable, they're so cute. You just never know. And I think that never knowing sometimes gets to me more than others.
Yeah, no, that's very real. As Ember's getting older, I've been taking her to more spaces, right? And my nephew just asked this recently. I didn't even tell you this, but where he was like, do you think people see you and think, oh yeah, you're a lesbian? And I was like, I never know. I never know how people see me, but I do try to represent that identity consciously, even though I know we are living in a world that's like, maybe I might regret representing that right now with my bold, like rainbow shirt on, but I want Ember to see that. Like, I want her to see, like, it is okay for you to stand in who you are. And I want us to enter spaces and for people automatically to know, like, we enter in just like this. So
yeah, we were just talking about that this morning. When we both have off, we make it a point that we both get the kids ready. We both take them to school. And if we're able, we both pick them up. And I was just saying, like, how much I love that, how much, like, we will both go into the school, into the daycare, and we're like, okay, which child are you getting today? But everyone sees both of us, so they know, and it's never a question of like, wait, where's the mom? Who are you? Like, they know it's both of us. They know they're telling us they're missing milk. They'll tell one of us who drops them off, the other person when they pick up. So we are, both of us, a solid face in our kids' life.
So important, right? And it is. I think you captured it so beautifully, because it's like, every choice, there is always some risk. Unfortunately, like the choice to be true and authentic and real comes with risk. And that's hard, Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Jessica?
Oh, you're always deeper than me. That's the balance. Like, I see things as just real, linear. We're having a good day. We're having a good day. She's here to bring the reality in. And I appreciate that. Even though, how scary it can be, I appreciate it.
Yeah. But I think the good part of that is, like, I can get real deep in that reality. And so you got to, like, pull me up out of it sometimes, like, hey, this could happen. And also, this is our reality as well. So yes, it is reality, but in our home right now, it's not our reality. So I think we're a good mix of the chill, laid back, like, this is just the copacetic, and then I'm just like, but yeah, what happens? And you
do
both.
need both. You do need both. I 100% agree with that. Like, it is, you can get into the weeds, and if you and your partner both get into the weeds, it's a different way to bring up children.
Exactly.
You need the balance. Yeah.
It's different life.
Exactly.
So you need the balance. I appreciate that, Jessica. Actually, you do need someone who's like, A equals, A goes to B, and then B goes to C. Like, it's not an A squared in this moment, right? Like, and that's necessary.
Yes.
Yeah, and it is interesting. We know what it's like being in the South, and people we're in Austin, Texas, and people call it like the blueberry of the Red Sea. And that Atlanta area is kind of similar, so there's some similarities there where you have these, really strong pockets of progressive minded, like very thoughtful people with really strong intentions. And then you just go 10 extra miles to the west or east, and things change really differently. So I'd be curious to hear for you all, what has it been like as parents? And I mean, Georgia has been on the spotlight all year, I feel like, politically. So how has that impacted you? And I know there are all different counties and school districts talking about book bans and, just these local issues that actually trickle down into schools and daycares and the ways in which teachers are showing up. how has that impacted you, just politics in general and the way that at the local level, you're noticing things play out or not, you know?
I think for me, it's like seeing it. So it's always interesting to watch the elections because you already know that like Atlanta and right around it's going to be blue. But then it just baffles me how much red, but then Georgia has the most counties in the country. And so seeing all of that red, but it's small towns where it's literally one stoplight and all that good stuff. So seeing that and then wondering and waiting to see how it trickles down. Like, how is that going to show up in our schools, in our daycare? So like we have two small kids. They're both, I can't say under 5 anymore, but they're 5 and under. So we're about to enter, if we so choose, like public school. And so honestly, I don't even know. For me, I'm not about that life yet. It's slowly becoming more realistic and more evident. But I don't know how book bans and things are going to affect our kids because I'm just not in that mindset. I'm in the parenting a 2-year-old and a just turned 5-year-old. And there's so much complexities with that. Like, I'm not quite in keep this child alive survival mode like you are in right now, but you've reached that next stage. And so I think it speaks to kind of parenthood, and you've got these different stages. And so for folks who may be a part of the LGBTQIA plus family, like, and if you're just like, oh, I don't know a lot about these politics. I know they exist and I know some about them, but I don't know how they're going to affect us yet. That's okay, because there's a reason you're not in that stage of life yet, where I'm sure if you talk to guests who have kids in middle school or high school or elementary, then they're able to speak on how it looks on a day-to-day versus right now, we're just thinking how it's going to show up. I'm grateful that the daycare sent out for this week all about Kwanzaa. So I'm like, okay, there's some representation. Like Santa Claus was Black in some of the things. Some of the elves were Black. The kids got some books. And so that is kind of reflects where we're at in parenting, at least for my end, and what's showing up.
I think it makes me scared when you bring up how red the state is, because you can't parent everyone else's kids. It makes me scared for Adonis, what we're sending him into. And it makes me not want to send him into it. So, yeah, with you raising a 5-year-old little Black boy, like this state, even though we're right here, this little blueberry, like they said, it makes me scared. So,
yeah,
it is real. And I think, even though Ember's 11 months, we also are having that conversation just because I worked in schools for so long. We both did, but I just stopped working in them just this school year. And I believe in our public schools. Like I believe in neighborhood community schools. Like, and now I'm in that position where it's like, I'm not just educating someone else's kid. Now I'm thinking about like, what am I about to do with my own kid's education? And these foundational years really matter, right? Where their imaginations are still alive, where they can still be naive in some ways and be children. And you want that for so long. But to your point, Jessica, like our own fears, that helps drive like what decision we're going to make, knowing what we're putting our children into, right? And so it just makes me wonder for you all, like, I know your kids are not in the school age yet, but like, how is it impacting how you're currently raising them? Like, are you having conversations that are age appropriate now to help them kind of start getting used to the world that they're around or in? Or are you not? Are you just doing it with yourselves so far?
I think we're just having it with ourselves right now, because I feel like he's still at the point where it's just going to go over his head. I don't think, whatever terms we put it in, he's not going to quite get it just yet. But when we do have that talk, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to have to be something just to deal with how sensitive he is to things. So it's going to be an interesting talk when we do sit and have any type of talk with him.
Yeah. Our Adonis, so our oldest, he's definitely a feeler. So he's my child. And with all the energy. And so because of that, he has big feels. Like I say that smiling, and also he's tall for his age. So he's 4 feet tall and he's 5. And there's 2 parts of it. There's this duality that we live in. So we've got this super goofy, super gentle giant who is so gentle. You see it with how he interacts with his sister. She's not at all, by the way, but we'll get back to that. And when he gets upset, he gets so upset and all these feelings, and it's so innocent. But then knowing that even though he's not dark skinned, he is a lighter, being perceived as a really tall male who's not white. You can look at him and tell he's not white. If he has big emotions, big feels, what is that going to do? How is that going to intimidate others? And so I don't ever tell him, you can't be upset. You can't do this, especially because that's just how he emotes. But I'm very intentional in really teaching him emotional regulation. So like when you're having big feels, breathe. If anything, just take a few breaths. Like if you can go in the other room, like you've got your calm down chair, whether that's a metaphorical calm down chair when you're 15, you're 16, whether it's your 4 or 5, that's the beanbag chair, it's a literal thing. But these things that unfortunately we're teaching, one, just to be a good human, but also because of how people may perceive him. So there is some intention in what we're teaching, but I'm also tailoring it to who he is. So again, not saying you can't be upset, you can't cry, you can't yell and scream, but also be aware when you do, like, be in a safe space to do it. No, you always can come home to do it. Who are your safe people? So that's kind of what it feels like raising him right now.
Yeah. And like the fact that you're carrying that thinking process right now too, I think is really deep, right? I think we often don't get to express as Black moms, like how much of the weight we carry first that we don't necessarily, like if we could hold on to the choice to not give it to our children, we would, right? But the world unfortunately gives it to them. And we've been planning this whole time, like your safety zones. How can I help raise you in this certain way so that when you're in this situation, which I just know you're going to be in, you're prepared for it. You have the tools for it, even though you had no idea you were going to be in it. And like how much space that takes up when raising children. And I think it's just I appreciate you for sharing that part of it, because I do think sometimes that gets overlooked, especially in Black moms, like how much weight that is in our thinking minds, that I don't think gets talked about enough. So just I really appreciate that lens.
Yeah, it's important because, like, real transparently, like our kids' lives, all Black boys' lives, all boys of color, male identified boys of color, masculine presenting folks of color, their lives depend on that, kind of being able to navigate that intricacy. And as we get closer to school age years, like we're having this intentional conversation that's come up in these last couple of days, like, are we going to homeschool? And it's not from a place of fear. I think it's for us, like, really knowing who our child is and like, will they do well in school? Yes, but what else can take away from that? So we're having intentional conversations right now of like, okay, we have to choose our school by end of January, February. Are we going to send him to public school right up the street where it's convenient, literally 3 minutes up the road? Or are we going to take on this huge task to homeschool and potentially bond more with our kids? So we don't know yet.
It's a deep question too, right? And like has so many layers to it because you understand, you've worked in systems for so long. You understand how systems are created and how they work. And yes, people create systems and keep systems alive and breathing and all that. And so it's like the school down the street could be awesome if the people in that system are kind of doing this, thinking the same ways as you, right? And are thinking, okay, here's this 4-foot Black 5-year-old who's going to express himself as he should be able to. And we got to make sure to create space for him to do that, not shame him or put him on a behavior list or, create all these other dynamics within a system. But you have to be aware of like, are the people in that system thinking that way? Or do they see this Black boy and immediately think, oh no, we got to contain and control this 5-year-old, That's a hard reality to sit with. So I'm sending love to you.
Yeah, Nikita, you just gave me chills when you said the piece about, to paraphrase, this is life and death, right? Yeah. And it is this weight, I'm feeling really emotional about this, just thinking like we've seen Adonis. We started working together when he was 2. And like, when you said 4 feet, I was like, it's been that long since we've seen him in the back of the camera, but like, there is something that is just so heartbreaking that we can't trust our school systems to create safety for our children. And so we're imagining a world where we completely reinvent ourselves, which parents do already. But I don't think straight parents understand the added weight that comes with trying to create baseline safety first, right? And then I think all parents are concerned about school safety because of all the ridiculous gun violence and lack of gun safety legislation, all of that. Then on top of that, you're thinking about all these nuanced layers of like baseline safety. How can my kid, every parent thinks about how I don't want my kid to get bullied, but then this other layer of racism, homophobia, and then at our core as parents, we just want our child's imagination to be free. Like we want liberation. That's it. We want them to feel liberated and to be their fullest, most beautiful selves. And yet all that comes underneath that are all these layers. I mean, I think as you were talking about earlier, just the weight, I pictured this image of like 10 weighted blankets. Like we're just trying to get from one room to the other with like 10 heavy weighted blankets, it's intense. It's really intense. And then you add the layer of racism on top of that, that is deeply, deeply permeated in all of our systems.
It's heavy. And it's like, it's even heavier because it's weight that we didn't choose to bear. It was just like, here you go. You need another blanket. Here you go. You need this. So it can feel really heavy. And also like the light that keeps me going and keeps me like not letting me just go dark and like, what's the point? Like, it's never going to get better, is that our systems and our schools and everything in between are made up of people. Yeah. And so when we can humanize it, all of it, then I can connect with people. That is my superpower, is being able to connect with people. Like systems, no, that's not me. But being able to just have people feel my vibe automatically shifts. My coloring automatically shifts. Being able to provide for voices automatically causes a shift. Them seeing us, seeing my smile, seeing all of us, like that is what shifts things. And so as much as I want to just never take the kids out of the house, stay in the house all day, although I don't want to be in the house with the kids all day, but it's a catch-22. I know that showing up every single day and showing folks that, not that I'm different, but like I am just a human just like you. And like, I'm not going to go out of my way to appear safe. I'm going to show up every single day the way I show up. I'm going to show up at daycare looking a hot mess because it's 7:00 in the morning, just like you. Like your ashy ankles and flip-flops, welcome to the party. So like, I'll hold the door open for you. Can you please hold the door open for my child? And I think those humanistic actions are what changes people. What slowly, it's not going to be this huge realization of, oh my goodness, my child ran out in front of the street and you saved my child. Like it's going to be, I see them showing up for their child every day. I see how excited their kids are when they run to them. Maybe they are good people. Maybe I'll pause before I say, oh, those people, because I have a picture of Adonis and Remy's moms. Right. And so that's what kind of keeps me going. That's like the light in this otherwise heavy, because it is heavy, but it's usually a weight most people don't see. It's that invisible blanket. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the light part. And I agree with you. Like, they're humans that work in these systems, right? And I'm a people person too. So I'm like, I just got to get you to see how fly I am. And then exactly from there, right? Because we know the weight, it is like, I would much rather experience some lightness. So if there's something different I can do to help you change or grow in this moment, then I will do that for the sake of my well-being and my kids' well-being, right? So I just really appreciate that story about the lightness.
We wouldn't be here if we didn't believe that. True. Like we are so committed to shining a light on the light makers, because it's this work and these incremental small conversations of people taking daily small steps, not the big, like you said, the heroic action. It's like these little micro moments that actually have macro impacts if they're done with consistency over time, right?
Mhm.
And so I think it is, it's beautiful to hear your stories and your experience, because I think it does give me hope to just think about the world if everybody just saw what was in their locus of control, how we could take those little micro steps. Yeah. Just thinking about it all.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. So I think that's a perfect segue. What we've been talking about is like we are working hard to find those incremental moments of creating more light in the world. So now to kind of close us out, thinking about what do you all wish and hope and want, all parents, regardless of their backgrounds, thinking about wherever Adonis ends up next year and beyond, what do you want all the parents in his class to be doing more of and thinking more about and showing up with more intentionality? Like if you had that magic wand, what would you like to see all parents do more of?
I know I would just like to see parents just love up on your kids. Like, because it's cliche, but hurt people. Just love on your babies. That's all you can do. Like growing up, like me and Nikita talked about this. Like, I can't ever clearly recall like hearing my mom or dad say, like, I love you or I'm proud of you, but I knew they were. So it wasn't something that was lost to me. But I know she's pointed out, I make it a habit to tell Adonis, maybe not every day, but every other day that I'm proud of him. Every night, I love you. Bunch of kisses before bed. Like I feel like kids retain these things. Like just love on your babies because they go to school happy. They're not bothering anybody else.
Mhm.
They're thinking about what Minecraft and snacks and when it's time to go play. So just love on your babies. Let them know that they're okay and they're good the way they are.
I think just going along, well, adding with that, like making space for that. So like Jessica was saying, we go to pick up our kids and it's like a 15-minute ordeal, 20 minutes sometimes. One, because there's two of them trying to get them and all that, but like Adonis has to hug everybody in the classroom, but we make space for that. We don't rush him. One, that's just because who he is. Two, how often do you see his best friend, like they just love each other. And how often do you get to see two little Black boys just like literally running at each other? And you don't. So just that visual is really what came to mind and making space for that. But I think I just want all parents to know this whole parenthood game, life journey is going to take all of you. Like you can't opt out of it. And even if you quote unquote opt out of it and you're not in your kids' life, because there's a whole nother side of like folks who aren't in their kids' lives, both who may be a part of our community, who may not be. But it is a full body wholeness experience. So even when you don't feel like it, like you still have to show up, but knowing that show up doesn't mean 100%. So it's hard. It's hard and it's going to take every part of you, but you have to be open to it because you have to be willing to realize that you're parenting yourself and you're actually not parenting your kid, which is a whole nother conversation that I'm all in that life right now. Like you have to realize that they're kids. You need to give them space to just be kids. You need to realize that everybody is operating at a place where they're just doing the best that they can in that moment. And all of that is wrapped up into everything that we do. And so I want all parents to know that we don't know everybody's whole story. We don't know everybody's life. And also we still have to show up and interact with each other and give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Give everyone that you may be not behaving or thinking like I think you should right now. And also like, but I still think you might have some good in you and holding on to that good to keep interacting. Because when we decide and we write people off, then that's when that fragmentation of things occur. So I think that's what I want all parents to know, that it's going to be a full body, full personhood journey. There's no other option. There isn't, because even when you do opt out, you're still opting into something that's a full body, full personhood journey. So that's a whole deep, completely different conversation. But yeah.
No, it's so real though. And it goes back to the point that you were making too, Jessica, around like hurt people, but healed people, heal people.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more healing we do in our fullness as our full selves, the more healing we can project out into the world. And it is those moments of just letting your kids say goodbye to everybody and fill the cups, not only fill their cup, but fill everyone else's cup. That's healing, right? Because then that kid, when they get picked up, has love to give. And then that love might be exactly what that parent needs after a hard day at work, right? And like that cycle actually can continue to be recycled. And that's what changes our world. And that's the light in the darkness. But it does take us being conscious in those moments, because it is so easy to be like, it's been a long day. Yeah. Let's go. How come you're not ready? Like, it's easy to do all that, right? But it's like, you know what, let me just take this in, because you're not 5 forever. So I'm not going to be able to see you just run over to somebody forever. There's going to be a point in time where you don't want me to pick you up, right? So let me just take this moment in and live in that moment. If we could just do more of that, each of us could just do more of that, then there's so much more healing that could happen.
Such a beautiful story.
Yeah.
It was such beautiful invitations for other parents to think about. And they're not doable, right? Like, this is the thing. I think it's just, there's such real, beautiful invitations. So thank you all for sharing that.
Is there anything else you want to share, or anything else you want the audience to know?
I think just in general, like, these conversations are important. One, they give space to just reflect. So I love these type of conversations because they're helpful for the listener, but they're also helpful for like us and me, because you're like, wow, like I was saying, we are super close, but we just chill. And so we don't have these questions that we pull out well, actually we do have questions that we pull out and ask each other from time to time, but being able to ask each other this, like, how do you feel about this? Like hearing her say, I'm scared. I talk about all day, every day, how like all these fears and things that I have, but like, I don't know if I've ever heard you say, I'm scared of what the future holds for our child. That's how I took it, as you say. And it's just a grounding force to know, one, that we're in this together, two, that you have fears and things as well. But it's just things that we all need to hear about each other. We need to keep having these conversations, specifically with folks closest to us, to know what's in the air, because these are the things that we don't typically share. So I'm grateful for this space to have these type of conversations, because we've learned more about you all. You all definitely learned more about us. And that's what we need, to just know more of people, because people are afraid of opening up. The more we know about each other, the more that we can all be there for each other, the more change that can help.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all getting in the arena with us. You know, like, we're in this together, we're talking together, we're dialoguing together. And to be honest, we're learning together. And it's always nice to talk to couples who have kids a little bit older than ours, so that it's a guidepost, right? It's a guiding light. It's one of the reasons we started this podcast, was to be able to reach more people and hear more stories and have more examples, so that we can succeed too. Like, it's a little selfishness in it, but like, it does then help others, right, who are looking for guidance and just a guiding light. So thank you for being open and honest and sharing your family, because in a world right now where it's not 100% safe, to share your family is a privileged thing. So thank you so much for doing that. We don't take that lightly, and I hope our audience doesn't either. So thank you. We appreciate you.
It's such a gift to just be in your orbit and to have this opportunity to hear all the layers of just your more texture to your family and more about your experience. And this conversation has been such a gift to us. As Leah said, it's these conversations that help us learn how to be better. You know, we're watching you all, we're learning from you all, we're taking notes, and we're almost 3 years married.
Yep.
So definitely taking notes from the 8 years down the road, just like, okay, it's such a journey, and it's such a gift to be on this path with y'all. So thank you again. And we look forward to staying connected, keeping the conversations going.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank y'all.
Thanks for joining us today, y'all. We'd love to stay connected on Instagram and Facebook, so you can find us at 2 Wives and a Spark, all spelled out.
If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with a friend so we can keep the sparks of connection going. If you want access to our episodes as soon as they drop, click that subscribe button. Every rating and review helps others find us, so thank you in advance for letting us know what you think. I'm Leah.
And I'm Rachel.
Thank you for listening to 2 Wives and a Spark.